happened to him? Can you Google Chris Angel legal trouble? I mean, I could, but it seems like you're actively looking.
$30 seconds.
3 seconds. Today is gonna be the day that they're gonna throw back to you. By now you should have somehow realized what you gotta do. I don't believe that anybody feels the way I do about you now. Backbeat, the word is on the street that the fire in your heart is out. I'm sure you've heard it all before, but you never really had a doubt. I don't believe that anybody feels the way I do about you now. And all the roads we have to walk are winding, and all the lights that lead us there are blinding. And there are many things that I would like to say to you, but I don't know how. Because maybe you're gonna be the one that saves me. And after all, you're my wonderwall. And today was gonna be the day, but they'll never throw it back to you. By now you should have somehow realized what you're not to do. I don't believe that anybody feels the way I do about you now. And all the roads we have to walk are winding, and all the lights that lead us there are blinding. And there are many things that I would like to say to you, but I don't know how. Because maybe you're gonna be the one that saves me. And after all, you're my wonderwall. 'Cause maybe you're gonna be the one that saves me. 'Cause after all, you're my wonderwall.
All right, welcome to Collective's 5 p.m. Liturgy. I'm Ben, I'm the pastor of the church. I will be your host for the service tonight here in beautiful downtown DeLand, Florida. Globally at wearecollectivechurch.com, where you can subscribe to stay connected. We're gathering safely in person. We're also live streaming, so if you definitely want to be on camera, like Bill and Joy, definitely be up in the front corner. They're going to be on camera every time the liturgists are on camera. If you don't want to be on camera, you want to be over here. So otherwise, fair game. Whether you're in person or online, live now or later on, whenever, wherever, your presence makes us who we are. My slides aren't working again. What's going on with this thing? Every time. There we go. Liturgy means the work of the people. It's not my show, it's all of us working out spiritual community together. Here to help us work tonight, our liturgists. Was that me? Batteries. Our liturgists, we've got Kenny, we've got Andrew, we've got Dan. Give them a hand. Kenny, Andrew, and Dan. Tonight we have both our artists in residence, Fred Wilson. We also have composer and creator of Love Without Why. And we've got a bunch of cackling kids in the room, and there's a reason for that, so hang tight. And you all are here with us in the flesh. The point is, we all are Collective Church. Andrew, would you read for us what that means? We all are Collective Church. Here's our community statement.
Value highly the metaphor of journey, where different people from different places and backgrounds, representing an intergenerational intergenerational community, and we've traveled different paths.
Andrew, you can let it just sit on your chest. You don't have to hold it. It'll sound better if you just let it hang.
Okay.
There you go. Perfect.
So we agreed not to make assumptions about the person across from us, next to us, or in conversation with us. We challenge ourselves to be sensitive, knowing this community includes a diverse group of people from lifelong followers of Jesus to people who are just now open to the idea that God might exist. We strive to avoid offense, ask good questions, articulate and explain our responses. We don't assume fluency in Bible, spirituality, or church language because we believe the message of Jesus is not for Christianity, but for humanity. So we do everything in the spirit of love and grace.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Andrew. Appreciate it. We are Collective Church, those of us who are in the room, and those of us who are online. Kenny, who's with us online tonight?
We've got Jim and Dottie.
Awesome. Hey, Jim. Hey, Dottie.
We've got some folks liking the thing but not chatting, so if you want to get your voice heard, please chat along.
Awesome. And I'm not sure, but I believe Jim is with Lynn bird watching in Iceland. Is that right? Did they go and get back? Does anybody know? The travels of Jim and Lynn in the world. Maybe they're in Iceland. We're going to talk about bird watching tonight anyway, so glad that you guys are tuned in with us. Thanks, Kenny. Hey to everybody online, glad that you're there. If you want to chat with us, jump on and chat with Kenny. We'll have some conversation. We've said the community statement, and now let's sing it together, yeah? And let's especially include, if we could, the kids. And even if you don't know the song, the Whoa-Who's are pretty easy. June, you know it. You sang this on Easter. So how about you lead the way and let's get some Whoa-Who's, huh?
Different paths. We're beautiful people with messy pasts, so have no fear, no judgment here. Whether you believe in Jesus or don't believe in anything, something you can teach us. You belong, no right, no wrong. Leaning into grace, help us make a place with an open table where no one's turned away. Well, love without why, no one has to hide. Finding God in people, sharing hearts as equals, where you are held in line. Good news is on your side. Whoa, oh, oh. Whoa, oh, oh. Life is full of mystery, and solidarity helps us to find some peace in the great unknown. You don't have to be alone, no. Leaning into grace, help us make a place with an open table where no one's turned away. Well, love without why, no one has to hide. Finding God in people, sharing hearts as equals, where you are held in line. Good news is on your side. Whoa, oh, oh. Whoa, oh, oh. Whoa, oh, oh.
All right, I want to start us easy tonight, especially because there's probably a few people who have never been here, and I want to take it easy with new folks, something very practical. So I want to teach you to levitate. That's what we're going to start with. Okay, maybe not levitate, not that. Maybe something more like that. Yeah, closer. Not really that. I'm gonna teach you that you're levitating. I'm not gonna teach you to levitate. I'm gonna teach you that you're levitating. I'm not going to teach you to levitate as much as I'm going to change your perspective about yourself and about reality in a way, and I don't want to spoil it for everybody, but that's what we're doing with this church. We can't teach you to be magic, but we can teach you that you're already pretty magic, and we can teach you the power of practicing that magic together. So how do we levitate? Focus. Let's start with some focus. That's pretty good. Maybe a touch of visualization. So let's picture ourselves meditating, lifting off. You're sitting in the chair, lifting off. If you want to try to believe, feel free. I've never really been good at controlling my belief, but if you want to try to believe that you can levitate, that's fine. And I want you to bring something into your mind's eye that you're extremely grateful for. It's hard for you to think of it right now without a smile coming across your face. And then I want you to connect the smile with this desire to levitate, to float up off the chair, and see if the desire and the image in your mind's eye can't. All right, give yourselves a hand. Awesome. So what I'm told is that, and I don't know anything about science, but apparently the forces between your electrons create a force that holds you something like 1/1,000,000th of a centimeter off of the chair. So you're not technically sitting on the chair. I don't know what to do with bean bags. You're really kind of sunk in there. I don't know if we can make a case that you're not in the chair. But the point is, did any of us come in tonight and go, you know what? Time to practice. And so you sat down, you went, all right, I'm gonna will myself, but not the entire centimeter. I'm just gonna will myself the 1/1,000,000th of a centimeter. No, we didn't come in and control the fact that we're levitating, because we all have this sort of bad case of involuntary corporeal energy levitation syndrome, which I made up, but it sounds fun. That's a force field that we don't think about that keeps us hovering off of the things that we're sitting on. We have enough energy in our bodies for 30 hydrogen bombs in the human body, which I personally feel emotionally from time to time. I don't know if you guys also experience that. And what I'm wondering is, when you come in, are you holding that energy at bay? Have you got a safety plan for the 30 hydrogen bombs worth of energy in your body? Do you direct how that energy is used and consumed? Do you have an OSHA calendar that marks the number of days since your last incident? Our cells are dying. Our cells are dying 1 billion a day. They're being consumed by their replacements. Did you schedule the cannibalization of your cells over breakfast, right? Like, I'm going to have my toast and oatmeal, and Monday is going to be chicken, and the resurrection cells will eat 1 million of the death cells by lunchtime, and then I won't get hangry. Or is it on your 7-year plan that your cells will all self-replace, such that the you are will never enjoy permanence in your cellular life? You're always becoming someone new, something new. Are you in control? Here's the question. Are you in control of the forces that hold you together, the glue and the boundaries of reality, this delicate dance of life and death in your existence? The answer is no. You have no say in this. I should have said trigger warning. Are you in control of your life? Are you in control of your body, the one thing over which you seem to have the most control? Are you in control of your mind? What about your feelings? Remember this guy, the emoji? Are we in control of our feelings? We're not. You go out, so it's going to be dusk here in the next hour and a half or two. It's summer, so it's going to be in a few hours. You go outside and look up at dusk, and the sun is setting far away, and the moon is rising far away, and the stars are coming out far away. How far away are we talking about? Let's go explore our solar system. The big yellow one is the sun, for those of you Brian Regan fans. The last time I checked, we can do about 35,000 miles per hour, and I think that's what we can still do in our trusty rocket. Do you guys recognize that? I knew it! It was going to get it. Yes. Still relevant. Yes. Almost 7-year-old pointed to the slide. That's Rocket from Little Einsteins, for those of you that don't know. So let's start out. Let's go to Pluto. That's maybe the furthest planet. Pluto, really beautiful, right? And Pluto's always back and forth. Is it or isn't it a planet? It looks like Pluto is way over. Dave thinks it's not. Scientists think it is. Neil deGrasse Tyson thinks whatever he thinks. So if you look at this, though, it looks like Pluto is way over on the edge. Hey, Katie. Way over on the edge with his friend Cheiron. 35,000 miles an hour. For 10 years. No pit stops. That's a big high school reunion, right? You see people after 10 years, and people are not the same, right? Their kids are almost 10. I took the kids to North Carolina for like 7 days. You guys will remember this. I think it was at the beginning of when we were meeting at the Table Restaurant a few years ago. A hurricane came. We went for like 7 days, 4 locations, my parents in a minivan. And I got to say, 10 years sounds excessive to get to Pluto. I don't think that that's something that we should think about. And that's not the edge of our solar system. There's something called the Oort cloud. You guys got to look at this. The Oort cloud. This is at the edge of the solar system. Means it's just barely in the gravitational pull of the sun. I don't know why, but it feels like a John Hughes movie, right? The Oort cloud is still under the spell of the sun. Notice how the scale works, though, because you look at this, and you don't realize the scale is exponential. So Earth to Pluto is 10 years, and it looks like there maybe it's 2 or 3 times as far. So let's go crazy and say that the Oort cloud is maybe 10 times as far as Pluto. Who feels like it's more or less than 100 years to get to the Oort cloud? More? How many think more? How many think it's less? Everyone else doesn't care at all. 10,000 years. 10,000 years. 10, and that's in the edge of our solar system. We get there, and then we've got a bad case of sunk costs, right? We can't go back. Dad, we haven't even left the universe yet. So we go to the next nearest star, 25,000 years to get there. That's just in our solar system. That's just in the Milky Way galaxy, one of billions of galaxies. Billions with a B, like be serious right now. Billions. Each of those is a galaxy, apparently. That's what NASA tells us. What do they know? And I'm not trying to be braggadocious about being able to read Wikipedia, because I can teach every one of you to do it if you really want to. But to say, are you in control? Are you in control of your life? From the smallest cells to the furthest heavens, that we are here and aware of our place in the galaxy alone should fill us with wonder. Kenny, let's bring Ginny Beth up here. We're going to talk wonder for a second and then get these kids who have been very well behaved. Thank you, kids.
Thanks.
Awesome. We're going to send them back to the create space. So, Kenny, give us a little intro here.
All right, so speaking of wonder, our first Art and Soul Galaxy of Wonder is coming up and filling very quickly. I've reserved my ticket, and you should too.
Same here. Good to.
Here to meet you all and tell us more about not only the upcoming event, but also introduce tonight's Collective Kids activity. We have our new neighbor, owner of the Create Space, contributor and guide to exciting new collective programming. Ladies and gents, please give a warm collective welcome to Jenny Beth Joyner.
Awesome.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah!
Yay!
Awesome. So, Ginny Beth, both for the sake of time and getting these kids to the good stuff, just give us a little bit of your kind of passion for community building in the arts, and then how is it, because I've seen it firsthand, that you're just so good with kids.
Oh, well, thank you.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate that. So I'm Jenny Beth Joyner. I'm a DeLand local who has moved around quite a bit around the U.S., but am back home now. And I have been an educator by trade, but also, as Ben mentioned, my passion is education and learning and also the arts. And so after 15 years of working for other people, I decided to do a little bit of work for myself and move back home and open the Create Space next door. And so it's a space for people to come in, kind of think of it as like a public craft room. People can come in, work on projects with other people, or if they're solo and want to come in and work just around other people, that's okay too. That's what I always am looking for, is a place to create with other people.
Cool, that's awesome. Yeah, the first time we met, it was like building community through the arts, building art through community. Like the alignment couldn't be better. So we have the first, Kenny mentioned the first Art and Soul that's coming up. That's coming up on Wednesday. We have a couple samples here. Just tell us a little bit about what we're going to be doing.
So we're going to do these little 10 by 10 canvases that are galaxy paintings. They're super fun. You have to have zero artistic talent to actually make it look good, I promise you. We paint with paper towels, so it's nothing crazy. And so it's just an opportunity to kind of express your creativity and then also talk with other people. It'll be more of kind of a collective conversation around wonder. And I think one of the things we're going to talk about today over in the Create Space with the kids is just the difference between like wondering about something, having curiosity, and like wondering at things. And the galaxies, and as you were explaining, is something that I think a lot of us wonder at, but also wonder about. So.
Awesome. Thanks so much. So I was talking to Jenny Beth just before y'all got here. It sounds like we are at 21 people signed up for the first Art and Soul. The Create Space caps out at 20. So we just made the call to move Art and Soul into the main auditorium, which means we can probably fit another 20 or 30 people. Yeah. So Jenny Beth is going to promote it through her channels. If you guys know of people that would like to, or you haven't gotten a ticket yet, go ahead and sign up so that we can make sure we have enough supplies. And I think without further ado, let's let the kids go. Kids, if you guys want to go back and meet by the sound booth back there, Jenny Beth is going to meet you there, and y'all are going to go do your wonder activities tonight. Thanks, Miss Kelly, for coming out too. How about a hand for Miss Kelly in childcare? Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Awesome. And so I didn't get to say this, but the artwork, especially now that we have so many people coming on Wednesday night, the hope is that some of these Galaxy of Wonder 12 by 12 artworks are going to be our installation for the month of May. So if you guys do them, hopefully you'll loan them to Collective for a month, and we'll hang them here, and then you can come get them at the end of the month. That's the hope. Okay, so since we're talking about practice with Art and Soul and the other things we got going on, and I already got my ticket also, thanks Kenny for mentioning that, let's go ahead and flesh out our practice opportunities this week. Thank you guys for bearing with us. We can kind of start with a little bit of sermon and include the kids in on that. I wanted to kind of tie them in also to the singing. It was so good to have their voices and their talk about not in control, their uncontrollable energy. So let's talk about practice this week. Kenny?
So our weekly practice starts with the email. So if you haven't, go ahead and subscribe to the email and check the box for the rundown. Then you can pick which groups you want within the rundown, and then customize your dashboard for both communication and practice. If you're one of the 45 people who has checked the box for volunteers, expect a call from either me or Ben this week to schedule your individual volunteer position meeting. We're doing that Tuesday from 12 to noon and Thursday from 6 to 8 p.m. It's going to be right here.
Awesome. 10 to noon.
10 to noon.
Yeah.
10 to noon.
Well, 12 to noon, but backwards. 12 to 10 and then back to noon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you need any help signing up for anything, I'm happy to help you right at the bar after the service.
Awesome. Fantastic. Yeah, Bill, question. So Bill's asking about Be Quiet. We have, what's the best way to put this? There's ongoing conversations about how to best do that because it has not unfolded the way we expected. That doesn't mean that it's not. It just means not that way right now. So we're trying to figure out how that's going to go forward. Thanks for asking, though. Did you have anything else, Kenny?
No.
Cool, good deal. I want to say this, I don't believe in a transactional, punitive God who would punish me Well, I do believe in a God that would punish me. Let me be clear. That's why I'm racked with anxiety. I don't theologically believe, though, in a God that would punish me for skipping yoga by giving me a bad back. But Monday, I missed yoga for the first time in 3 weeks, and doggone it if my back was not jacked up. So don't miss yoga every Monday night. We're here with our yogi, Sarah. It's awesome. Join me. I will be here. I'm making myself accountable to you guys. I'll be here tomorrow night for yoga. And if you guys would help us not just to clear the room, but to kind of clean as well, we're trying to get in the habit of leaving the space better than we found it, so that we don't have to pay people to clean and stuff. So if there are surfaces that need a wipe down, or just as we clear the room for yoga afterwards, that would be great. The point is the practice. We say often that a part of our practice is to support Collective financially, and we learned this week that for a while there's been no giving link on the main website page. So if you didn't already know the link for collectivegives.com, maybe you haven't had the opportunity to support your congregation in a while, and the reason we know that is because people were trying to give and couldn't, so thank you for that. But feel free now to get there either at collectivegives.com, or there is a link at the bottom of the main page, wearecollectivechurch.com. And really what we want to make clear is that the simple message you're going to hear over and over and over, because it's true, is that any good work, and actually you can do this right now, let's be mindful, picture good work, and I'm not talking about just church work, and I'm not talking about just the typical stuff you picture, Habitat for Humanity. Any good work at all in the world that you can think of, picture it right now, just some good work that someone's doing to make the planet better. Any good work. It's not by accident, and it's not free. Any good work at all is not by accident, and it's not free. Good work requires attention and resources. So from the rundown to weekly practice to giving, what we do on Sunday nights is also encourage ourselves to make a plan now to do what we probably won't want to do at some other point in the week. We make our commitments now to practice in a particular way. And why not just watch online? Why go to the trouble of engaging? We say it every week because your presence makes us who we are, right? Not the number on YouTube or the number on Facebook, and thank you for watching, but engagement, how we form ourselves as a community. So we're going to do that. We're going to practice. If you all want to kind of get comfortable, shake it out a little bit, get your feet flat on the ground. I love it. Every time I say that, I think the people in the beanbags are like, no way. We're like as reclined as we can be. So we're going to sound the singing bowl in just a second. We're going to ask you to join us for a few minutes, just gently returning to your attention. You can call that centering prayer, simply shared silence, silent worship. Your mind will wander. Just come back to your breath. Return to your breath without judgment. Just notice gently, gently to your breath. Those online, feel free to join us in silent practice. Feel free to use the drone videos that best serves your sense of connection in the silence. Sit quietly together for about 3 minutes.
green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, bright blessed day, the dark sacred night. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of the people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies crying, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
All right. And an extra hand for Dr. Brandon Lose. Thank you, Brandon, running sound and trumpet. Hey, hey, hey. And since we're applauding, Mary's running the slides, and baby Lily is also helping run the slides. So how about a hand for them too? We're giving it away. Awesome. Andrew, thanks again for being with us tonight. We're going to ask you to read for us from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 6. This is our text for tonight.
Therefore, I'll tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or drink, or about your body, what you will wear. Is not life more than food, and the body more than clothes? Look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap or store away in barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not much more valuable than they? Can any one of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your life? And why do you worry about clothes? See how the flowers of the field grow. They do not labor or spin. Yet, I tell you that not even Solomon in all his splendor was dressed like one of these. If that is how God clothes the grass of the field, which is here today and tomorrow is thrown into the fire, will he not much more clothe you, you or little faith? So do not worry, saying, what shall we eat? Or what shall we drink? Or what shall we wear? For the pagans run after all these, for the pagans run after all these things, and your heavenly Father knows that you need them. But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Andrew. Fantastic. So where were we? And thank you all again for humoring us for this little change up with starting out with Jenny Beth and the kids. So let's go back to the universe. That's where we are. Are we in control? This is the question that we're exploring, and I think this is an important question for us to enter into a conversation about wonder, and I want to have that in a few ways. We've talked to Jenny Beth. Actually, Jay, I'm going to have you run back to Brandon and get mic'd up, and then when I'm ready, I'll call you up. Yeah, you can go do that now, and then I'll call you up in a little bit. So we said from the smallest cells to the farthest heavens. Wouldn't that be awesome if I was like, dibs, and I jumped down and stole the beanbag? So from the tiniest cells to the furthest heavens, wonder is just a part of being conscious. Dan Hensley, we've been talking for weeks about this, is fascinated by space, and I would say is regularly drawn into what I would describe as religious wonder, spiritual radical amazement, ecstasy, whatever you want to call it, by the cosmos. So Dan, tell us what's spinning up your rocket boosters these days in spirituality and the cosmos.
Well, first off, 2020 was a great year for astronomy, although it was bad for everybody else. There have been several sightings of planets that have the same planet-to-sun ratio that our Earth and Sun do, but most of those were red dwarf stars and only emit infrared rays and no light. However, in June it was announced they discovered one that's in perfect proportion and mirrors our Earth-Sun ratio. It's called Kepler 160. Yes, we're running out of names for the star. And the planet is KOI 456. And it revolves around its sun in 378 Earth days, which makes it more likely that there could be the possibility of life on that planet. The unfortunate thing is it's 3,000 light years away from us, so getting there is going to be a little difficult. There was another discovery that shows how astrophysics actually, astronomers made an announcement in September 2020 that they found 2 black holes that collided.
And I think we've got an illustration of this, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's an illustration of what it happened, but it probably isn't like that because black holes emit no light. But
fair enough.
Yeah.
It's like the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park, right?
Yeah, they recognize it by using gravitational waves. And when the universe was half its age, that's when this happened. It was thought at one time that it is too large to really exist, according to scientists. But now they've readjusted and learned that they were wrong, that they're still learning. And what it did was it made them seek out more black holes of different sizes. So when they were originally just focusing on mid-range, and they found the smallest black hole in November of this year. So there is so much that's happening, and it's so fascinating. And even though 2020 was a bad year, it wasn't for astronomy and astrophysics.
Well, and you know, and what I love is like the practice level. You may listen to this and go, you know, I was laughing to myself as Dan is sharing the coordinates. Like we're all sitting here like, I got to buy in that neighborhood. It sounds like it's got enough suns, and you know, like. And the practice that he just said at the very, what are we going to do about stars that are 3,000 light years away? And what did he say about what happened with science? They realized they were wrong. They committed to learn more. And what they knew is that they needed a diversity of opinions in order to learn. I mean, come on. That's it. This is the practice that we're after, to admit that we're wrong, to know that we need more, and to pull more voices in. Thanks a bunch, Dan. Thanks. Appreciate that. What I want to explore this month is the word wonder. You may have gathered that. Both the experience and the expression. And just the fact that there is a word wonder means that someone took the time to form an expression after whatever this feeling is that we're talking about, after an experience, to name it, to remember an experience. In sacred traditions, they say words can even conjure an experience, that's how memory works. And there's some magic in the memory of the Bible. And what I'm after is inviting us to practice a sort of posture towards reality that doesn't just cultivate wonder, but that acknowledges that it's important to express that wonder, to risk creative expression, to put something out into the world, to bring goodness into the world, to name goodness in the world. And so if galaxies and kids and Dan's expression of wonder haven't done it for you yet, here are a couple from our sacred text. Dan is going to read them for us. Go ahead, Dan.
Where were you when I laid the earth's foundations? Lift up your eyes and look to the heavens. Who created all these?
So there's this posture that exists in the text, confronted by reality, right? Going outside and just looking up raises a question. Who did this? From where did all of this come? Who created all this? And we may go, right, if you're not a theist or if you're a secular humanist or you're some other religious perspective, and maybe you have nothing other than it's just a Bob Ross happy accident, but who's the Bob Ross is part of what we're asking. Who's the cosmic Bob? What is the posture towards reality? Dan, give us a couple more.
Have you entered the storehouses of the snow or seen the storehouses of the hail? Can you bind the chains of the Pleiades? Can you loosen Orion's belt?
So this is not, strictly speaking, and I've done a little bit of hospice care, and if you've done any pastoral care, this is strictly speaking not clinically appropriate, but in the face of human suffering, God has jokes, right? In Job, you find this sort of tongue-in-cheek, who do you think you are? Where were you when I hung the stars? And part of what I think Job is saying is in the face of suffering, one of the gifts because of our human consciousness, because of grace, because of forgiveness, because of resiliency, is that we cannot take ourselves too seriously. Wonder reminds us how small we are and how big reality is. There seems to be a certain posture in the world's religious traditions towards reality, things like the body and the heavens, the natural world. And we could call this wonder. Wonder. It goes by the name amazement, awe, fear. Radical amazement is one of my favorites. Radical amazement. In the Bible, in the way that Jesus teaches his disciples, in the way that the prophets and the mystics and the shamans and the gurus receive words from God, and in the way that you all have told me for the last 2 decades that you weren't able to find God in church, but that when you went outside, you found church in nature, and damn if God didn't show up. Unexpected, uninvited. But we needed it. So many of us, we needed that experience of wonder. What's the posture of the person seeking God? What is the posture of the person seeking God towards reality? Wonder. Awe, fear, amazement. I don't know, right? It has to start with some humility. I don't know. I'm not in control. I don't have the answers. A big one. I think this is maybe one of the projects of Collective for the last decade, is just admitting that there is not any way to buy that certainty. There isn't a religion that has it for sale that's worth a flip. There's no way to buy that certainty and satisfaction. It doesn't exist. The fear we're talking about with wonder, it's connected to awe. It's connected to unknowing. It's connected to mystery. It's not like when I accidentally ended up in the surf in Costa Rica with a saltwater crocodile. It's not fear for your life. It's not terror. Reverent smallness. It's looking up and having that sense, who did this? Who did this? Or maybe more precisely, I thought of this week because I've been sort of living with that line for the last 4 or 5 weeks. Who did this? Who did this? Who did this? And I haven't really enjoyed it that much, if I'm going to be honest. And it took me until the week of the sermon to realize what was wrong with my mantra. What I really needed it to be, I was sort of dancing around the truth of what I needed to get at. I didn't do this. I didn't do this. And some days I feel like I maybe have a sense for who did it. And some days I feel like I don't. What I know, though, is that I am small, that I didn't do this. Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel says, wonder, or radical amazement, that's his phrase, is the chief characteristic of the religious person towards history and nature. The ground of humanity's conscious spiritual experience is connected to wonder and awe. Let me say that one more time. The ground of humanity's conscious spiritual experience is found in wonder and awe. Is this what you see in culture, in our world? And I know 2020 is an outlier, right? It was kind of a crazy year. But in general, is this what we see in culture? Conscious spiritual experience of wonder and awe. And here's the more revealing question. A conscious spiritual experience of wonder and awe. Is this what we see in the church? Well, we were sure about that one. This is the church where we'd be like, I think God's in culture, actually, now that you think about it. In the church, no. But yeah, Abraham Joshua Heschel says, wonder, radical amazement, the chief characteristic of the religious person toward history and nature. Is this what we see in culture? Is it even what we see in the church? I'm going to invite my friend Jay to come on up. And while Jay is coming up, Jay, come grab a seat up here. We're going to chat for a minute. Try this on while Jay's on his way up. This is a definition I stole from Barbara Brown Taylor. I'm not in charge, and it's wonderful. That's her definition of wonder. I'm not in charge, and it's wonderful. Fantastic. And I think it's got to be the combination of these things, right? I come to the end of my own limitations, and it's amazing that I come to the end of my own limitations, and I can sit back and go, like I can enjoy it. Now, Jay and I know each other from another fellowship, not so different from this one, and we are formed weekly by this prayer that I'm going to ask Jay to share with you. And you may be familiar with it, but hopefully you can hear it with fresh ears. So Jay, lay it on us.
Okay. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Serenity. How many of you guys have heard that prayer? How many of you guys have prayed that prayer? One more question, and I'm trying to think about how to phrase this. How many of you guys have prayed that prayer when it wasn't a part of someone else telling you to pray that prayer? Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one to carry around. And it has to do with control. And I like it. We use the word change, grant me the serenity to accept the things I can't change, but it's really the things that I can't control. And what I want to ask Jay about is how, Jay, for you, does surrender equal serenity? And really what I wanted is, how does this sense of help me to accept the things that I cannot change, coming to the end of my ability to control, how does that lead to serenity or peace or even wonder?
Well, for me, I'm not super comfortable with the word surrender. Interestingly enough, there are a lot of catchphrases in AA, and most of them are very, very valuable. And one of the phrases you hear all the time in AA is surrender to win. And the basis of that is to quit fighting, okay? To quit fighting, to try and control things. And the idea in AA, to a large degree, is that a lot of what, aside from the genetic factors and other things that cause people to seek out alcohol as a solution, is trying to control. And there's a lot of references in the AA Big Book, which is kind of like the Bible for AA, don't try to be the director. If you are assuming the role of director, you're shit out of luck because you're gonna be miserable and you're gonna want to drink. And so that's basically the idea of surrendering. Essentially, I like the word be more accepting, be more recognizing of the fact that you can't control, and that when you make an effort to control, you're in trouble. And one of the things that there were a few older people in here, so some of you may remember a pop psych program called EST, Airheard Seminars Training. It was a big thing back in the 70s. And one of their key things, this is before I recognized that I needed to be involved in AA, was if you want some serenity in your life, they didn't use the word serenity, but they used some peacefulness in your life, less distress in your life, give up being right totally and completely.
Give up being right totally and completely. Yeah.
And so I've tried to do that for over 30 years. I'm certainly not consistently successful.
I thought you were going to say still haven't done it yet, but
I did it 2 or 3 times in the past.
yeah, right. You got. We'll check with Sue. That's awesome.
But anyway, so the whole idea is that to the degree that you can accept the things that you cannot change, and the devil's in the details in that prayer. I've said that prayer thousands of times, probably tens of thousands of times, and it's all in that last phrase, the wisdom to know the difference. So how does one know whether to continue to not accept, not surrender? And one of the things I liked, I asked for a T-shirt from the, I think it's a Methodist saying.
Yeah. It was. It's the social discipline. Yeah, resist evil in all forms.
Yes,
and all the forms it presents itself.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and that was one that Ben said that he'd get for me about 2 years ago.
Empty promises. That's stick around. There's many more.
He's gonna put me on the spot. I'll put him on the spot.
And that was a good pitch for our for the new merch that's coming out eventually.
But in any event, that's the thing, because some things, sometimes, I don't want to get into too much detail, but I was struggling with a health issue, and I had gone to consulted experts and so on and so forth, and I had a condition that was livable but unpleasant. And so I was doing the Serenity prayer.
Yeah.
And this had gone on for about 2.5 years, and I said, do I just accept that this is as good as it gets? And so I ran across a reference to a book that addressed that issue, and I said, maybe I just need to accept that it's just. And I thought, why not? I'll get the book. I'll look at it. Lo and behold, the issue is no longer an issue. The book happened to have the answer that works in my particular case, and that was over 7 years ago that happened. So that's the devil in the detail in the Serenity Prayer. Serenity Prayer is wonderful. I love it. I use it. But the wisdom to know the difference is a tough one for me anyway. So
I think for everybody. How about a hand for Jay? Thanks a bunch, Jay. Thank you.
And I can't get off the stage without saying
go.
it. And thank you for letting me share.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks, Jay. It's interesting that maybe the expression of what we're talking about is the definition from Barbara Brown Taylor. I'm not in charge and it's wonderful. If that's the expression, maybe the Serenity Prayer is the beginning of the practice. And I think really the crux of the practice is the wisdom to know the difference, so that we don't end up with a cop-out prayer. Thank God that everything is out of my control. It doesn't necessarily work that way. Thanks a bunch again for that. So, summer after middle school, this is the summer I was proving myself to myself. I was making decisions about who I was going to become in high school, and I was charting a course for myself academically, musically, socially, athletically. I was becoming that summer the Ben that you all know. Jazz band all the way through middle school, and I was getting better. I was lead chair by 8th grade, and I knew, though, that the band girls were about marching band, and the baddest badasses and the marching bulldog growl was the drum line, and so I knew I had to sign up for the drum line. I'd been studying with my drum teacher, Jim, since 5th grade. I knew I had the chops, so I knew I was going to be good enough. Preseason marching camp, dead of summer, first week of July. This is in the 90s. The very next week, we were supposed to be trying out for high school sports. So for me, that was soccer and basketball, which, if that doesn't make sense, Just accept that you can't change it. So early July, they had us coming back to high school programming, and this is like, what is this, in the 96 or something. So the same week that we're going for tryouts, we're also trying to figure out academic clubs, extracurricular activities. I needed some drama, and I needed some Spanish to pad my stats for college, get involved, be of service. But here comes Hurricane Bertha. And for 2 weeks, it sent some of the best surf that the East Coast of Florida, and especially my little home break, Paradise Beach, what's that, 10 miles from the coffee shop?
Not even.
Right there. Some of the best surf the East Coast has ever seen. The swell came in over a weekend, and as we rolled up to the beach on our bikes that Monday morning, it's still dark out, me and my buddies. This is the day that marching band camp starts at 9 a.m. It's like 6 a.m., and we're going to check the waves. We stopped at A1A and Paradise Boulevard. This is still 250 feet from the ocean, maybe 300 or yards, 250, 300 yards from the ocean. And parked at that traffic light on our bikes, we could feel the ground shaking as the surf broke. It's a coquina rock beach. And the sun rose. We tried to look out and see what was going on. You could see the horizon was moving. There wasn't any still line, just because the swells were so massive. So the size and the power of this surf was insane. And something happened to me as I watched these swells roll in for probably an hour that morning, just watching the sunrise, and watching these swells roll in from miles out at sea. And maybe it was something with the brightness of the sun and blinding me, but it didn't feel bad. It felt ethereal and warm in kind of an embracing way. The world seemed, in that moment, less permanent and more beautiful. And after a while, it was like watching those swells made the solid ground feel dizzy. And for about another hour that morning when I got home, some of the most serious conversations probably in my life happened with my parents before 8 a.m. about who I was and who I wanted to be and my high school career. And now as a parent, I think back on this and these are such pivotal moments in my life. And my parents took such a risk in letting me become myself. I mean, we had to have had hundreds of dollars, thousands in drum lessons, but hundreds of dollars just in marching gear and uniforms for band, especially drum lines, super expensive. And my parents were super clear, and they weren't bugged by it, they weren't mad. They just said, this is it. It's surfing or marching band. This year, one focus, one passion. Don't waste your time. Don't waste our money. And for me, it was like it wasn't a decision. It was easy. It was surfing. There was no question. And so I got my board, and I went back to Paradise Beach, and I was late. Everybody else had already been out, right, because they didn't have to go back and worry about marching band. So I show up with my board, and I'm standing there. And I hadn't gotten down to the beach earlier when I checked it. I checked it from up, so it looks way smaller. So I'm standing there on the beach and watching this surf. And, I said you could feel it in the ground. It was like just this rumble from all the surf coming in. And then as I'm standing there, it was like everything went still. Everything went still. And I felt it first in my feet, just like stillness. And I just went and ran and threw my board in the water and started paddling. Paddled and paddled and paddled and paddled. And I paddled out with dry hair. I paddled out in the middle of this massive swell. I had just happened to find a lull. And I expected the paddle out to take probably 30 or 45 minutes. I mean, if you get caught on the inside in waves this big, there's not a channel. It's just a beach break. They just pummel you and pummel you. And I got out in like 4 minutes, totally dry. And I was terrified. I mean, coming up over these swells, like paddling on a board up over these swells and then back down, and then you see the ones that are coming at you, and they start to come up like they're going to crash on you. So I was out for probably 6 hours. I don't think I said anything. I don't think I spoke to anyone. I think I was out, I maybe caught 4 waves in 6 hours. And I did this every day for 2 weeks. By the next Monday, we'd had the same conversations about soccer and about basketball. And my point is, this life-changing experience, I controlled everything that I could. This wasn't by accident. I quit my path like Paul on the road to Damascus, right? I was blinded by checking the surf, and I became a new person. I changed the course of my life over the course of these 2 weeks. And in that moment of wonder, paddling out, speechless, and aware that I was a part of something so much bigger than me that I wasn't sure I was supposed to be there, those kind of moments of wonder, awe, fear, even with everything that I could control, I was not in control. That was one of those, I'm not in charge, and it's wonderful. It's bigger than me. So what's the practice? Andrew read this text from Matthew 6. Jesus says, don't worry about your life. Don't worry about your body, your food, your clothes. And I got to tell you, though, this experience of clarity that morning, checking the surf, the focus was like the closest thing I've ever had to this. It was like nothing else mattered, right? Just, you've got to go surf. And the surf called me, and I think probably in a lot of ways the surf still calls me. But I look at my life now and I go, well, this worry, this anxiety, this unending sense of like lists and keeping up and it never being enough, most of us, most of the time, I know for me, this is my full-time job, is this kind of worry. But like this worry and anxiety and unending sense of never being enough, how do we get from this, just caught up in that spin cycle, back to wonder? And you probably think I've got some elaborate, real mystical teaching. I'm going to go with Jesus on this. He says, look at a bird. Look at a bird. How do you return to wonder? Look at a bird. Look at a flower. Look at some grass. And we go, man, Jesus, he's so wise, because by a bird, in the Greek, bird meant relaxation. And right, we try and make it something. It's not go look at a bird. Walk outside and look at a bird. Don't do a Bible study about a bird, and don't read about birds, and don't Google birds. Look at a bird. Look at a flower. Look at some grass. When I made my rite of passage a few years ago in the desert in Ghost Ranch, New Mexico, I was laying in the desert in the middle of the day, and the initiator had asked us to wait for our teachers. And I laid there just baking in the sun, and there was one single bird that just kept going in this like ascending spiral above me. And I must have watched for like 3 or 4 hours. How do I get beyond myself? My needs, my desires, my fears, my insecurities, my drama. Jesus says, and I think we should take him seriously, look at a bird. Look at a flower. Pete Holmes is a stand-up comedian who does a great bit. He says, there was a time, and I don't want to get all Andy Rooney on you, but there was a time where when you didn't know something, you just didn't know. And this is before Google. Now there's nothing that we don't know. Google, Wikipedia, Coursera, you can take free college from the best minds in any particular subject. The tree of knowledge is at our fingertips, and I think that we forget, and Jay does a great job of reminding us of this, is that the tree of knowledge is one of good and evil, right? We have limitless information. There's no arguing with Google. Google's there, and 2020 happened, right? We've got Google and racism. We have Google and the election that just happened, Google and the climate crisis, Google and the education crisis, Google and the healthcare crisis, Google and the mental health crisis. Google doesn't seem to be solving the problems. It can tell us a lot about it. Google's great. Information is great, but Google doesn't change us. Information doesn't change us. Practice changes us. And wonder changes us. Father Richard Rohr says, we don't think our way to new ways of behaving, we behave our way to new ways of thinking. We have to practice new behaviors if we want to think and feel differently. And you may not want to do some of the stuff that Collective needs right now, but Collective needs it. And if you can help, we need help. And I wonder if things like commitment, I wonder if making a commitment, even if it seems hard right now, even if you don't feel any sense of connection to the work that we're trying to eventually accomplish, maybe it'll change the way you feel about it just by helping out, just by being of service. For most of the religious tradition, when the gurus and shamans and mystics and prophets really wanted to go seek knowledge, and I think what they would call wisdom, not data, right? They didn't go to a cave and go, well, how fast is the Wi-Fi? Because we're not going to be able to get connected to God if the cave doesn't have Wi-Fi. For most of the history of humanity, when people wanted knowledge, or what they called wisdom, they went to nature. They went to nature because they knew what Jesus is reminding us of, that the bird can teach you and the grass can teach you. Find your teachers. The same mystic, Richard Rohr, says nature is the first gospel. Nature is the first gospel, right? That long before we read what any particular religious text has to say to us, we read the world around us. And when we say we read the world around us, we saw it 30 minutes ago. The kids are in back being creative. Kids notice seasons changing before we do. A child will sense the weather shifting without the local storm team 8 or the radar thing going off on their watch. And it's not that kids have more access to wonder than we do. I think what Jesus is saying in this teaching is we all have the same access to wonder. Kids have less worry in the way of the wonder. And I think what Jesus is saying is not that we need more wonder, but maybe if we could get the worry out of the way, the wonder will be a little bit more visible on its own. Look at the world again and remember. It's like Jesus is saying, unless you change and become like a little child who's filled with wonder, who's filled naturally with radical amazement, you're not going to be able to see the kingdom of God. This is my nephew, Zane. We got to see him for the first time post-COVID last week. He's huge. He's so grown up. You can see a little bit of Collins in that face. And they hit the zoo in Melbourne, which was amazing. And I'm really impressed with this kid. He's a really smart kid. But you guys aren't going to believe this. They showed him birds, and he knew how to look at birds. Nobody even taught him how to look at birds. This kid just went and looked at birds. No one trained him. And why do we do intergenerational work? Because when we consider the child, even the elder, right, even mom and dad, and in this case, this is my mom, Lolly, here, in this next one, even the elders get in on wonder. Even mom and dad get in on wonder. And this is why, like, next week, we're going to baptize another baby. We've got Lily in the back now. We've got a whole slew of babies coming through for baptism. You see this when you see children come and live in wonder before our eyes. What do children know as we approach summer break? They are less in charge, and it's wonderful. Seems to be a little less control in general, and these kids think it's wonderful. This thing is not working again. Awesome. Stand by. Apologies. Oh, it crashed. That's crazy. I've never had that happen. Close enough. Kids understand wonder, right, intuitively. And the invitation, the beginning of the invitation, we're going to do this for another 5 weeks, including on the 23rd, we're going to be out at the beach. Maybe, more details. But we're going to take a Sunday not in the room, and we're just going to go outside. And you'll have the opportunity to see a bird or see the ocean or go for a walk or something like that. But we're going to explore wonder. Next week, we're going to explore the wonder of motherhood. We're going to have Kayleen here, and she's going to talk about, as a midwife, how is wonder a part of that process. We've also got Natasha Watts and Baylor, and they'll talk about what it's like, how wonder is a part of parenting. We're going to talk about how we practice wonder in a few weeks. We've got more stuff coming with the Collective Kids experiment this month. Ella Shepard is going to be doing some leading with the kids in a few weeks. The kids will be in the whole time next week, Intergenerational Week with Mother's Day. So I'd encourage you this week to take a walk. I think the practice to walk away with is to go for a walk. And I know, because I'm maybe the most paranoid person in the world, we can create any scenario where we've got to have our phone. So bring your phone, because you might get mugged. But take a walk. Turn it off if you can, if you're willing to risk it. Leave it behind if you will. But take a walk long enough that you're not distracted. And see if you can find a teacher, find a bird, find a flower. We're going to come in just a minute to this table. And the Eucharist is a reminder for us and for our tradition of the physicality of our faith, the materiality of God, and the sacredness of our coming together. In just a minute, we're going to start to play the song. Feel free to come up, and as you come and receive some bread and a cup, whoever comes first, if you can just wait on this corner, you can turn and speak these words to the person coming after you. Bread for the journey, nourishment for the soul. Come when you're ready. one? Yeah, sure, I'll take that one. Good enough. I believe that every heart is kind. Some are just a little underused. Hatred is a symptom of the time. Lost in these uneducated blues. I just wanna hold you while I can. All these other thoughts have me confused. I don't wanna try to understand. Maybe I'll get up, turn off the news. Turn off the news and build a garden. Just my neighborhood and me. We might feel a bit less hardened. We might feel a bit more free. Turn off the news and raise the kids. Give them something to believe. Give them hope that there's a future. And hope that they can see. Hope that they can see. Turn off the news and build a garden with me. Trust builds trust. All that negativity's a buzz. Trust builds trust. Don't you wanna be happy? Turn off the news and build a garden. Just my neighborhood and me. We might feel a bit less hardened. We might feel a bit more free. Turn off the news and raise your kids. Give them something to believe. Give them hope that they can see. Give them hope that they can see. Hope that they can see. Turn off the news and build a garden with me. Turn off the news and build a garden with me. Turn off the news and build a garden with me. Check, 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 check. That's all, I turned it off. if that's not a metaphor for what we're doing here. All right, thank you guys for joining us so much. Like we said before, if you want to be a part of supporting Collective financially, make sure that you find that collectivegives.com. And Kenny's going to take you out on staying connected and drop in a benediction. Give it to us, Kenny.
Make your plan to stay connected at wearecollectivechurch.com and update your preferences to customize your engagement. For benediction this evening, we have The Summer Day by Mary Oliver. Who made the world? Who made the swan and the black bear? Who made the grasshopper? This grasshopper, I mean. The one who has flung herself out of the grass, the one who is eating sugar out of my hand, who is moving her jaws back and forth instead of up and down, who is gazing around with her enormous and complicated eyes. Now she lifts her pale forearms and thoroughly washes her face. Now she snaps her wings open and floats away. I don't know exactly what a prayer is. I don't know how to pay attention. I do know how to pay attention, how to fall down into the grass, how to kneel in the grass, how to be idle and blessed, how to stroll through the fields, which is what I have been doing all day. Tell me, what else should have I done? Doesn't everything die at last and too soon? Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life?
Awesome. Thanks, Kenny. Let's bring our hands together as a symbol of our intention, first to our foreheads for clarity of thought, to our lips for clarity of speech, and to our hearts for clarity of action, so that in all that we say and do, love would be our first thought, our first word, and our first deed. Grace and peace. If you've got kids in the Create space, go get them. And help us clear the room. Kind of the midsection can be pushed to the back. Help us wipe off services and clean up trash. Thanks.